Have you ever failed a shiny Pokemon before? Well, I have. And it's a lot easier to do than you'd think. There's almost an endless array of ways for this to happen, but today I'm going to look at what I believe are the top 10 worst ways to fail a shiny Pokemon. Double shiny! What? Finding more than one shiny at once. This way of failing a shiny has come into the spotlight in Generation 6. X and Y introduced Hordes, which is where you encounter 5 Pokemon at once. Following on from Black and White 2, the Shiny Charm is also in this game. The odds of finding a shiny Pokemon in Generation 6 were halved as is, so with the Shiny Charm on top of that, shinies were easier to encounter than ever before. Whether or not this change was a good thing varies from person to person, but that's beside the point. With the odds of finding a shiny being so high in comparison to earlier generations, it was only a matter of time before something like this happened. Every now and again you'll see someone get 2 shinies in one horde. While this occurring is ridiculously rare, it's not a good thing, because you're only able to catch 1 Pokemon per battle, meaning that you'll have to choose between the 2 shinies. You can't have them both. And in Sun and Moon this repeated itself with a lot of people finding more than 1 shiny at once with the SOS chaining method. It turns out that this was actually possible way back in Generation 4 as well, with it being possible to find more than 1 shiny Johto starter at once. Though considering it would be full odds at 1 out of 8,192, this is far less likely to happen. This is the lowest on the list because even though losing the other shiny sucks, at the end of it you still get a shiny. I've been trying to catch Chansey in the Safari Zone all day. It's near impossible.
A few moments later.
Oh no. Safari Zone. This one is a little lower down because unless the shiny is random, you should expect this if you're trying to hunt for shinies here. A lot of people choose to hunt in these areas for the extra adrenaline it can give you when you find a shiny, because if you catch it then it feels amazing, trust me. That and there are a lot of really cool targets that you can't find anywhere else. But even knowing the risk, it does still sting a lot seeing a shiny Pokemon flee from you. I would know. Back when I only made shiny hunting videos, I found 2 shiny Yanma in Sinnoh's Great Marsh. The first one taunted me for 5 turns before fleeing, and the second one fled first turn. I also failed a shiny Gloom in Ruby Safari Zone a very long time ago, and that still stings a little bit now. Oh no, it broke out! What just happened? Moves that cause the battle to end. This would include the moves Teleport, Whirlwind, Roar, Dragon Tail, and Circle Throw. These moves cause the battle to end. It's that simple. In Generation 5 and upward, all of these moves will fail if your Pokemon is a higher level than the Pokemon using the move, so it's pretty easy to get around. Teleport is a little trickier and requires something trapping like Mean Look, or the ability Shadow Tag. So on the whole, this is pretty preventable and doesn't happen very often among shiny hunters at all, but it can really suck if it catches you off guard. Okay, time to start throwing balls. No! No, 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 no! Moves that cause the user to faint. Most commonly associated with Geodude and Grappler, these moves can make shiny hunting very dangerous. Though to be fair, it seems that most people who fail these Pokemon weren't shiny hunting in the first place. However, Self-Destruct and Explosion aren't the only moves that can cause the user to faint. Memento, Final Gambit, and Perish Song are further examples. If there's a particular Pokemon that you're hunting, then there's usually a way to counter these moves, like having a Pokemon with the ability Damp to prevent Self-Destruct and Explosion from working. This is a very similar situation to battle-ending moves such as Teleport and so on, but I consider this one to be worse, because before the battle ends you have to watch the HP bar go down and drag the shiny into the ground. I've been trying to catch this thing for way too long. Just get in the ball. Struggle? Wait. Fainting a Pokemon from struggle or recoil damage. If you're a shiny hunter, then you'll know that one of the most useful moves in the game for this would be False Swipe. False Swipe always leaves the opponent with 1 HP no matter what, so it's almost perfect for weakening a Pokemon. I say almost, because in this case, it can be what causes you to fail a shiny. Always know the moveset of what you're hunting, because your shiny could no takedown, and then end up fainting itself and ending the battle. Honestly, if I were hunting something with a recoil move like that, then I wouldn't even weaken it at all, but that's just personal preference. preference. Struggle, on the other hand, is more relevant to legendaries. So when you find your shiny legendary, you'll want to keep track of all of the moves that it uses so that you know when it's about to start struggling. I'm a bit of a wimp, so most of the time I just massive all my shiny legendaries right from the get-go, but if you want to catch it the proper way, then just be careful. I really hope I get my shiny Torchic soon. Is that it? Uncatchable shinies. There are a group of Pokemon that fall into this category. This would include most Pokemon used in the beginning battle tutorial, Pokemon in the Battle Frontiers, and Juniper's Minccino for some reason. Basically encounters that are scripted, they're meant to happen, but they also have the chance to be shiny. I'd say the worst of these would be the Poochyena or Zigzagoon in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, and Diamond and Pearl Starly. I'd say that these are the worst ones because if you want to shiny hunt the Generation 3 or 4 starters, then you have to encounter these Pokemon too as part of that, and they have the same chance of being shiny as the starters, so if you're unlucky then you might get 1 or 2 of these before even finding your target. I just started a new file. This is gonna be so much fun playing through the game.
12 seconds later.
Oh my gosh, is that a shiny? Oh. Uncatchable shinies, part 2. Yep, there's a second part to uncatchable shinies. Yay. In this category fits every Pokemon that you encounter before receiving Pokeballs. I consider these to be far worse than the first batch because they aren't even forced encounters. They're just regular Pokemon that under any different circumstances you would be able to catch. If you find one of these, chances are you are only a few steps away from receiving Pokeballs anyway. Cool, this thing is nearly weak enough to start throwing balls. One more hit. No, not now! Fainting a shiny with a critical hit. While a lot of Pokemon you won't really need to weaken in order to catch, most legendary Pokemon or others with similar catch rates do require being weakened. But Sod's Law means that critical hits almost never land when they're needed, but in a situation like this it seems that the probability is multiplied by 10. You just need one more hit until the shiny is weak enough to start throwing balls, but of course it lands as a crit and the shiny is gone forever. I've never had this happen to me before, but the only way to really avoid this is to account for critical hits when attacking, and not use any moves that would make the Pokemon faint if it landed as a crit. That's all you really can do.
Oh my god, guys. Shiny Giratina. 1,950 soft resets. A shiny Giratina has appeared. I cannot believe I have a shiny Giratina. Guys, my game just froze. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? Guys, no action replay. My game just froze.
The game freezing. This one is probably the most unpredictable and the least likely to happen of the whole list. If you haven't had a Pokemon game freeze on you at least once in your life, then you're pretty lucky. But you would be extremely unlucky to have it happen at the worst possible time, when you find a shiny. And there's absolutely nothing you can do but look at the shiny on the screen. You can't catch it, you can't attack it. All you can do is turn the system off and try again. The worst part is, there's almost no way to predict or prevent this. Unless you've got a game that has a history of freezing, or for some reason you want to thrash your DS around during the battle, then it's probably not gonna happen to you. Just in case, I always hold my DS really delicately when I find a shiny, especially if it's on a 3rd generation game, because on DS Lites the cartridge doesn't go fully into the system. It will probably never happen to you, but there's no harm in being careful. Oh my god! No! Oh my god! No! That was definitely shiny. Oh my god. I can't believe I just did that. Oh my god. That came after 2,413 soft resets, and that was definitely a shiny Treecko, and I just soft reset over it. Oh my god. That sucks. Soft resetting or running away from a shiny. I'm sure a lot of you might be thinking, how could you ever soft reset over a shiny? You'd have to be pretty dumb to do that. Well, you would say that if it hasn't happened to you, but it's a lot easier to do than you'd think. All it takes is one tiny lapse in your concentration to fail a shiny. That's it. You may know that a year or two ago, I was shiny hunting Trico and Sapphire, and I found one. For about half a second. I was looking at something on my laptop, and I suppose I was just a little too fast to push the buttons because before I knew it, the Trico was gone. It was so fast that it didn't even have chance to sparkle. Now, running away from a shiny is a different matter because by the time the run option appears, the shiny sparkles have made their sound and so on. Running away from a shiny because you didn't realize you'd encountered one would require you to be very distracted, so I wouldn't worry about that one happening too much. But the feeling of knowing that you had the shiny and you ruined it because you weren't paying attention for a second or two really sucks. But that's just about it for what I believe to be the top 10 worst ways to fail a shiny Pokemon. If you failed a shiny in a way that wasn't on this list, then be sure to let me know. As for more top 10 videos, I'm taking suggestions, so if you have something you'd like to see, then leave a comment. If I end up picking your comment, then you'll get credit in the beginning of the video I make. But as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!